Good morning. We are going to work on a quick Illustrator tutorial. Someone had posted about finding good vectors of curvy girls. Okay, that it's kind of hard to not find one that's not in a bikini or laying down and being lazy or whatever, which cracked me up. So the great thing about vectors is they're easily manipulated. Okay, so let's take a look at the basics of a vector. And now this is Illustrator, and this is the layers panel. And so this vector is made up of all of these different paths. And then you'll see some of them are grouped together. And these are all the paths that are in that group. So the key thing is breaking down the image and looking at it from all these different perspectives. Okay, so what I like to do now, I probably do this all wrong, but this is the way that works for me. All right, the first thing I do is I start ungrouping it. Okay, just to get to the pieces that I want to manipulate. So we want to take this bikini part and we want to manipulate it. All right, so now that I've got this selected, we're going to try to figure out how we can get this into a skirt. All right, so each component of a vector piece, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to undress you, but we have to put more clothes on you. This piece right here consists of several different points. And the thing about Illustrator to know is that these two arrows are going to be your main tools when you start getting into manipulating vectors. The direct selection tool is going to select everything that is grouped together. All right, so I already went through the process of selecting this girl. At first, here, let's go back to the very beginning. All right, so here she is. We are using this selection tool, the black arrow, and she is all grouped together. All right. I can choose the white selection tool and then grab any of the points that make up a certain shape and move it. All right. Now, what I like to do is I like to ungroup everything. All right, because that makes it easier to manipulate for me. So the first thing I do is ungroup. Now, when you have, as we saw in the layers panel, there are certain things that are still grouped together, like these flowers. Whoops. Let me get back to where I was. These flowers are grouped together. So if you wanted to ungroup those as well, you can. But the thing to know is that not all vector illustrations are created. Most of them are never created the same unless you use the same one for artists from the same artist who have the same method of creating them. So getting down, you may not want to ungroup these flowers. You may not want to make any tweaks to these. Okay. So don't ungroup it so far that you have a million things to select. So we just ungrouped it once. And what we want to do is we want to take this bikini piece right here, and we're actually just going to completely undress her. Actually, let's save these just for the color. We're just going to drag them over here. And we are going to look at this piece right here. We're just going to leave it right here. We're probably going to bring it up on her belly some. All right, so this piece right here, if we look at it with the black selection tool and move it around, it just means that every point is selected with this black selection tool. Now, if we look at it from the white selection tool and click off, we are able to select individual points by themselves, right? So you see this is now blue, but all the other ones that are a part of this are all white. So that means we can easily grab this selection tool and bring it down here. Let's move this out because we're just kind of bringing in the shape. We're actually going to bring to the front. We'll worry about her hand later. All right, so now she's looking like she has some sort of sarong. We're just going to select some of these points and just kind of fill out the shape of a skirt. Okay, now some of this is going to look a little jagged, but we'll fix that. All right, so already looking covered up. And over here, we're just going to kind of figure out where her. And one thing you can do is, let's just move this over and figure out her hand. All right, so just her hand is here. All right, so what we're going to do in the layers panel is we're going to look for where her hand is. And her hand is in this group right here. So we are actually going to move, just drag this group all the way to the top of our, or you could also select it and say range, bring to front. So we're just going to drop it on there so it's always on the front. And then we're just going to come here and we'll worry about that in a few minutes. Now that we've kind of got the basic shape here, we've got some issues over here where we need to cover her butt here, and then these are kind of jagged edges. All right, so if you are familiar with the pen tool in in Photoshop, it's basically the same tool. Okay, so for certain points, we have these curve selections, these handles. All right, and then you can change those. You can actually break that curve. So like when I move one end, the other end moves as well, but you can break that. You hold down your Alt key or your Option key and select that endpoint, that breaks the curve. All right, so you can manipulate it however you want in that way. Now for these, this one only has one curve. Maybe we want two curves. All right, so what I typically do in these situations is I come over here to the pen tool, anchor point selection, and I click it, and that will create those two handles again. So if there's, for some reason, if those two handles are gone and you want that curve, that's all you have to do. All right, so now she's looking really curvy on this side. Let's see, down here, let's see, now this is, I'm going to come to this point right here and select it. And we are going to break this because we want the bottom of the skirt to be a little straight and strong. We'll bring this down a little bit. All right, so we're we're showing our hips some, which is okay. We're going to fix that. So in these situations, our points are here and here. So what can we do to get this where it's covering her hip? Well, one thing we can do is we can convert this one to a curved one. So we're just going to take that. But I don't want to come out so far. Oh, I'm sorry. I still have this anchor point selection, which is what my issue is. So we need to select our direct selection tool. Now there's shortcuts, which I do not have memorized, that will help you speed up your process. All right, so you can see I'm moving this along the curve of her hip. All right, so already looking better and covered up. Let's say that you wanted to make this into a dress. We are going to come down and bring this point here. Now I want this to come over here, but I don't have enough points to make that happen. So what we're going to do is we're going to add a point. So on the pen tool, where you're going to find the anchor point tool, you're going to find delete anchor point and add anchor point. We're just going to click anywhere here. We're going to add an anchor point, and then we're going to drag it where we want it. And then we're going to come in here and just change that curve. And then we are going to drag this down here. Now, you'll notice that we have some color here. I don't think we're going to need to fill in. Okay, I just deleted, I just selected that color that was right there. Now let's do that again. So what this is discolor. It's meant to look as a fold in her skin. So we don't need that since we're covering it up. So we're just going to delete it. Okay, I don't want to delete this one though. I didn't want that one in the beginning. So, all right, so we're going to delete it, and there we go. All right, so now we're just going to continue to add a couple of points here. I'm just going to add several. Now, you have to be careful. You can always, like if something's in your way and you keep on selecting it, find it on the layer menu and lock it, and that way you don't accidentally select it. So now we will not select her raw top. All right, so now we have a couple of points added here. What we're going to do is we're going to just start bringing it all the way over. And just continue to fill in those areas using the main selection and then the curve line. All right, and then we're going to fill her up here. And so now we've got her covered up. All right, so we're going to convert, we want a little bit of a curve to this. So we're going to convert this to the one with the curves, and we're just going to fill it in there. All right, so now we've got her covered up. She now has a cute dress on. All right, so let's say we wanted to make her have a apron on. All right, maybe she's a popsicle maker because she has a popsicle. So we're going to take a look at this apron, and we're going to cut this apron and move it over here. So we're just going to undo all of the grouping for this. So we're going to ungroup again. All right, then we're just going to start deleting things until we get to the apron that we want, because we don't want to bring all this other stuff. So there's our apron. I'm going to copy it. I'm going to come back to our little bikini. Oh, big size difference. We're just going to resize it and place it to where the straps work. All right, so what I'm going to do right now, because I do not want to adjust my lady anymore, I know she's good, we're going to add another layer on top, and then we're going to, since I have this whole apron selected, you'll see it's all selected by these blue dots. I'm going to drag the main top dot and put it up here, so now it's on its complete new layer, and we're going to lock our girl. All right, so that way I'm not accidentally touching anything on her. All right, so what we're going to do real quick is we are just going to, if you think of an apron, it doesn't really curve around the hips. So let's just take this and resize it based on what we think it will do. So I think that's good. And you can do this however you want. And then we're going to just drag the heart in the center. These dots, I'm just going to select them all. And sometimes the selection tool, it just takes some time to get used to it. I've been using it for years, and it still can drive me crazy. All right, so we're just going to move this, stretch it out, and then we're going to take our things, and actually we can probably bring this up. Maybe we want her to show a little bit of cleavage, and then we're going to just drag this down and over. And then again, drag this down and over. All right, so now she has what you call it, a thing, an apron, I can't even think. And if you look at it, because she has got a slight angle to her and the apron is definitely straight on, you can actually, we're going to select this. Nope, we're going to select it. And then we're going to go to some of our distort things. So there are tools in Illustrator that will allow us to distort it, just to give that illusion that it's an, a little askewed. All right, that doesn't look any better, but you'll get the idea of how you can play around with that. So let's try that again. Distort, free distort. Drag this out some. And then that just means you would need to go in and maneuver this a bit. Let's see. Select this whole thing. And in this situation, I would probably select all of these pieces. Let's break it down. Bring this up, and then find those other two pieces, which is right here and right here. And we're just going to bring those up as well. And you can move with your arrow keys as well. It's really, really slow. I'm just going to do this one at a time. And then move this one up. All right, so now it's still not perfect, but just wanted to do a quick tutorial on how to do that. So something to think about when working with vectors is that, you know, you can use clothing from other people. You can take what they have and expand it out into a dress. And, you know, if you see the body shape of one that you like, you can easily manipulate other clothes from other vectors. You know, we could have taken one of these dresses and placed it on, but it's kind of the same as photos, is that the angle is different. But the great thing with vectors is that you can tweak the angle. All right, so I hope that's helpful. I know this is kind of quick and dirty, but just go in and play with these tools. The selection tool, the direct selection tool, and then all of your pen tools. You have your pen tool, add anchor point, delete anchor point, and then the anchor point tool, which creates that curve. So I hope that is helpful. One thing I didn't mention is that you may, on certain things, want a curve on one end and not the other. So let's see, we are locked now, so let's unlock. So here, let's say, let's zoom in. All right, so this one only has, you know, the points are separated. The curve tools are separated, so we can do it however we want. Let's say it was not done that way, so let's convert it into a regular one. So now they're joined. So when you move it, those points are going to move together. Now let's say you don't want it that way. What you do is come down to one, hold down your Alt key, and that breaks that link to the other one, and you can curve it however you want. Not like that. All right, so I hope that's helpful, and a quick overview of how you can use the direct selection tool and the selection tool to manipulate vectors.